Hello everyone. This is Kendra Vidyalaya Sangathan JIT Bhubaneswar's initiative. We are presenting digital videos for chapters in class 11th and 12th. Today we are going to start a new chapter from class 11th, chapter number 7, Structural Organization in Animals. The chapter has 3 parts. We are going to start with the first part. So today's topic for discussion is animal tissues, epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous tissue. Let us see the units in which the chapters are divided. The first part deals with animal tissues and its type, mainly epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous tissues. Second part deals with morphology and anatomy of cockroach, part 1. And the third part talks about anatomy of cockroach, part 2. As far as the learning units are concerned, we are at the first ladder or first step of this chapter, animal tissue, epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous tissue. What is expected from you to know before we start the chapter? You all have read this chapter in class 9th as well. So you are expected to know the definition of a tissue, the basic understanding of animal tissues as read in class 9th, the concept of division of labor. At the end of this chapter or video lecture, you'll be able to define tissues, classify the animal tissues, describe the epithelial tissue and its types, explain the difference between various types of muscular tissues, draw neuron and explain its function, as well as talk about various types of connective tissues. Animal tissues. So we define tissue as a group of cells similar in structure, function and origin. You might have seen that how the level of organization starts. It starts with cell groups to form tissues, tissues forms organ forms organ system, and so on the organism. So in a tissue, cells may be dissimilar in structure and function, but they are always similar in origin. So Bichat was the person who coined the term tissue, and the classification of tissues are very, very important. We need to understand animals have got more variety of tissue as compared to plants. And study of tissue is called as histology. So why tissue is important? Because of cell specialization. Unicellular organism tends to perform all the function at cellular level. But for multicellular organism, division of labor is a must concept. In complex organism, different group of cells perform different group of function more efficiently as compared to the unicellular organism. Let us see the different tissue types. There are 4 major tissue types: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. As far as their origin is concerned, epithelial tissue originates mainly from ectoderm, endoderm and mesoderm, and the function is protection, secretion and absorption. The connective tissue originates from mesoderm and performs the function of support, binding, storage, protection and circulation. Muscular tissue is also mesodermal in origin and it performs the function of contraction and movement, whereas nervous tissue is ectodermal in origin. It helps in control and coordination. These were the different types of tissues based on the function and location. Now let us focus on epithelial tissue. As the word says, epithelium. Epithelial has got 2 words, epi, upon, and thelios, grows. A tissue which grows upon another tissue is called epithelium or epithelial tissues. So let us see what are the characteristics of epithelial tissues. Cells are either single-layered or multi-layered. Cells are compactly arranged and there is no intercellular matrix. There is no intercellular spaces. In tissues you will find cellular component and non-cellular component. The non-cellular component is called as matrix. Cells of the lowermost layer always rest on a non-living basement membrane. So presence of basement membrane is one more defining characteristic feature of epithelial tissues. Cells are capable of division and regeneration throughout their life. Free surfaces of the cells may have fine hair like cilia or microvilli, or may be smooth. And epithelial tissue is non-vascularized. Your skin is one example. You can find there are different types of epithelium. Basically, we can call there are two major types of epithelium: simple epithelium and compound epithelium. Simple epithelium means there is only one layer of epithelial cells, whereas compound epithelium means there are more than one layer of cells associated. They are named accordingly. So let us now look at their classification. It covers the surfaces, internal organs, and also makes gland. They are classified on the basis of shape and number of cell layers. On the basis of shape, it can be squamous, where cells are thin and flat. It can be cuboidal, where cells are cubical, and columnar, where cells are tall, column-like. On the basis of number, if the number of layers are single, it will be called as simple epithelium, and if there is two or more layers, it is going to be called as stratified epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium. We are going to deal one by one. Simple squamous epithelium. It is a single layer of thin flattened cells. It looks like a fried egg. It can be easily rubbed off and damaged. The common site of filtration, diffusion, osmosis, this type of tissue is present. It covers surface. It also makes the diffusion membranes. Air sacs of the lungs, walls of capillaries, lining of blood and lymph vessels are the common site where you will find simple squamous epithelium. You can find here out the cells are quite flattened. Even the cheek epithelium are simple squamous epithelium. Now we talk about simple cuboidal epithelium. Simple cuboidal epithelium, the cells are cubical in shape. The nucleus is centrally located. The major functions are secretion and absorption, and they are located on the surface of ovaries, lining of kidney tubules, lining of duct of certain glands. So secretion and absorption are two major functions as performed by simple cuboidal epithelium. When we talk about simple columnar epithelium, there is a single layer of cells that are longer than they are wide. They are long, tall, pillar-like. That's why they are called as columnar. Nucleus located near basement membrane. Ciliated or non-ciliated. Some have microvilli. As for example, we find goblet cells which secretes mucus. It can be glandular as well. So the function can be absorption, secretion, and protection. And the location is lining of uterus, stomach, and intestine. Then we come across another type of epithelium, pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. It is called pseudo-stratified, falsely stratified, because in the columnar cells, the nuclei are located not at the same level in all different cells. So it gives an appearance of being stratified. The major functions are protection, secretion, movement of the mucus, and they are located in the lining of respiratory system. You can see the diagram here out. Now we come to the compound epithelium, mainly stratified squamous epithelium. They are multi-layered or flattened cells. Named is based on the appearance of top layer of cell. The function is protection. Outer layers of skin, lining of oral cavity, throat, vagina, anal canal. These are sites of stratified squamous epithelium. You might see that during summer, the skin wears and casts off, slowed off. Again, new layer of skin comes out. It is only because it is stratified. One layer is replaced by another. Stratified cuboidal epithelium. 2 or 3 layers of cuboidal cells. The function is protection. The location lining of larger ducts, mammary glands, sweat glands, salivary glands, and pancreas. We have got stratified columnar epithelium. The function being protection and secretion. It is located in vas deferens, part of the male urethra, parts of pharynx. Now we talk about one more type of epithelium, transitional epithelium. Epithelium that is stretchable. The function is distensibility or stretching and protection. It is found in the inner lining of urinary bladder and linings of ureter and part of urethra. Now we talk about one more specialization where we call epithelium as glandular epithelium. Cells are specialized to produce and secrete substances into ducts or into the body fluid. The gland can be made by one or more cuboidal or columnar cell. The function is secretion. So accordingly, it can be unicellular as well as multicellular gland. The glands of gastric chamber is example of unicellular glands. Salivary gland, sweat gland, and other endocrine glands are some glands that represents multicellular glands. In epithelial tissue, you will find some junctions, specialized junctions. They are held together by little intracellular matrix and material. That is called as junctions. It provides both structural and functional links between the individual cells. There are three types of cell junctions. Tight junction. It helps to stop substance from leaking across a tissue. Adhering junction. It performs cementing to keep neighboring cells together. And the gap junction. It helps in transfer of ions, small molecules, and sometimes big molecule. Right? So gap junction, tight junction, and adherence junction. Let us come back to another tissue, connective tissue, the tissue that connects various organs. It is the most abundant and widely distributed tissue. It has function of linking and supporting other tissues or organs of the body. In all connective tissue except blood, the cells secrete fibers of structural protein like collagen or elastin that provide strength, elasticity, flexibility to the tissue. It also secretes modified polysaccharide. In the diagram, we can see one loose connective tissue or areolar tissue where we have got components of fibroblast, collagen fiber, macrophages, mast cells, and also beside we see adipose tissues which has got fat storage area of a cell, the nucleus displaced in a corner, and plasma membrane. Let us have a brief classification of connective tissue. It can be loose connective tissue, and the examples are areolar adipose tissue, dense connective tissue, the example being regular and irregular connective tissue, and specialized tissues, the example being cartilage, bone, and blood. Blood in turn has got some components, the cellular component, RBC, WBC platelets, and plasma, non-cellular component. Loose connective tissue. Areolar tissue is present beneath the skin. Location is very important. Often it serves as a support framework for the epithelium. It contains fibroblasts, macrophages, and mast cells. And you remember, mast cells secretes histamine, which can cause allergic reaction. The next tissue type in loose connective tissue is adipose tissue. It is present beneath the skin and stores fat. The excess of nutrients which are not used immediately are converted into fats and are stored in this tissue. So during starvation or fasting, this tissue comes handy. Dense connective tissues. There are arrangement of collagen bundle determines whether dense connective tissue will be regular or irregular. In dense regular tissues, the collagen fibers are present in rows between many parallel bundles of fiber. As for example, tendon that connect muscle to bone and ligament that connects bone to bone. Dense irregular tissues. It has no fibroblasts and many fibers, collagens are oriented irregularly, therefore giving a irregular appearance. So fibroblasts are scattered and many fibers are also oriented irregularly, right? This tissue is also present beneath the skin. You can see the regular and irregular pattern of collagen fibers. Now we come to specialized connective tissue. So we talk about cartilage. Cartilage, they are the softer than the bones. They provide structural support. The intracellular matrix of cartilage is solid and flexible and resist compression. The cells of the tissues are called as chondrocytes and enclosed into small cavities within the matrix secreted by them. They are somewhat softer, contain salts of calcium. They're present in the tip of the nose, outer ear joints, on the external ear, between adjacent bones of the vertebral column, limbs, and hands. In case of adult, every bone has got on its proximity some cartilage that provides protection against erosion or wearing. You can find the structure. Cartilage cells are called as chondrocytes, and collagen fibers are also scattered. Cartilage in adult body is made up of the structure. There are different types of cartilage: hyaline cartilage, elastic cartilage, and fibrocartilage. Bone. Bone have a hard and non-flexible ground substance, rich in calcium salt and collagen fiber that gives it strength. It provides structural framework of the body, supports and protects softer tissues and organs. The bone cells are called as osteocytes, and they are present in the specialized spaces called as lacuna. In the center, there is a canal called as Haversian canal. The Haversian canal of a bone osteocyte is connected to another canal by Volkmann canal. So, this is a characteristic feature of bone. In some bone marrows are present in longer bones, which is site of production of blood cells. Now we talk about a specialized fluid connective tissue, blood. It is a fluid connective tissue. It consists of cellular part, namely erythrocyte or RBC, leukocyte or WBC, and platelets. Its main circulating fluid, plasma that transports various substances. We come to muscular tissue, the third tissue type. The muscular tissue is composed of elongated cells called as muscle fibers. These fibers are composed of numerous fine fibers called myofibril, made up of special contractile protein which contracts and relaxes to cause movement. Right? And you can find there are three types of muscle fibers available. One with bundle and more striations, light and dark striations, called as striated muscle, also called as skeletal muscle. Other with tapering ends and single nucleus, called as smooth muscles. And the third one is very, very peculiar. It has got striations and intercalated discs joining many bundles together present in the heart, called as cardiac muscle. So accordingly, muscular tissue can be of three types: striated muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. Let us see the difference. Striated muscles, they are attached to the bones and helps in body movement. Cells are long, cylindrical, non-tapering, and unbranched. They are multinucleated and nuclei are situated towards periphery. Presence of transverse light and dark band gives them characteristic name striated muscle because there is striations present in the limbs, tongue, etc. The second muscle type is smooth muscle. Cells are long and pointed, tapering ends. Cells are uninucleated. Nucleus is in the center. There is no striations present in intestine, esophagus, stomach, lungs, urinary bladder, etc. And the third muscle is cardiac muscle, present only in the wall of heart. Cells are non-tapering. Striations are very, very faint. Presence of one or at most two nuclei. Nuclei are situated in the center. Cells are elongated and branched. Out of these cells, the striated muscles gets fatigued very fast. Smooth muscles takes longer time to get fatigued, and cardiac muscle does not fatigue at all. That's why we keep living. We keep our heart beats. The last of the tissue type is nervous tissue. The neural tissues or the nervous tissue. Brain, spinal cord, and nerves are all composed of nervous tissue. So the cells of nervous tissue are called as neurons. There are some supporting cells called as neuroglial cells. A neuron cell consists of cell body which contains nucleus and cytoplasm. Fine structure arises from the cell and are called as dendrites. A single nerve fiber, elongated, called as axon, arises from the cell body which ends into many branches. The dendrite receives impulse and the axon takes impulse away from the cell body. The two neurons are joined.
Here are some further readings.
Synapse.
You can follow the links. And also animations are associated.
And they conduct
you must see the Invisible Revolution.
So you can
it's a TED Talk video which talks about the invisible revolution as created by biotechnology.
Containing nucleus, and there is a tapering cell terminal, axon. In certain cases, there are some myelin sheath present, which is secreted by Schwann cells. And in between these myelin sheath, there is some gap called as node of Ranvier. So this myelinated cell is very, very important as far as transmission impulse is concerned, because transmission is very fast in case of myelinated nerve. The transmission moves from these node of Ranvier to next node of Ranvier. So the mode of impulse transmission is saltatory. And you see here out the meeting point of.
Thank you for watching it so patiently. This lecture was presented by Rajiv Ranjan Singh, PGT Biology, Kendra Vidyalaya Air Force Station, Kumbhikram from Silchar region.
Structural variation. There are four types of animal tissues: epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissue and nervous tissues. Epithelial tissues, all are covering tissues. All layers and organs in the body are lined by a group of tissues called epithelial tissues, which are commonly referred to as epithelium. They cover the surface of all internal as well as external organ. They can be either simple epithelium or compound epithelium, the main function being protection, secretion, absorption, and sensation. Connective tissue, as the name suggests, connects and supports the different tissue, organ, and part of the body. Among the animal tissues, connective tissues are the most abundant one in the body. The connective tissues cells are freely arranged in a matrix and are widely distributed in the body. Different types of connective tissues are areolar tissues, adipose tissues, blood, bone, cartilage. Except for blood and other cells secrete collagen or elastin, which offers elasticity and flexibility to the tissues. The muscular tissue are specialized tissues in animals which applies forces to different part of the body by contraction. It is made up of thin and elongated cells called muscle fibers. It controls the movement of organism. It can be skeletal muscles, smooth muscle, or cardiac muscle. The nervous tissues, it monitors and regulates the function of the body. Nervous tissue consists of two cells, nerve cells or neurons and glial cells, which helps to transmit nerve impulse and also provide nutrient to the neurons. Brain, spinal cord, and nerves are composed of nervous tissues. They are specialized for being stimulated to transmit stimulus from one part to another part, and that too at a great speed. So this is what we have got the basic understanding of animal tissues. Now let us talk about some internal assessment, some MCQs given. These are certain questions. Take them down. If you have taken the questions and marked the response accordingly, let us find out what are the correct responses. Match these responses against yours, and if your answer is absolutely correct, you have done wonderfully well. Some home assignment. There's some questions that you need to write neatly in your notebook and show it to your mentors. These are the links for some more reading and watching the animations of epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissues, and nervous tissues. So we have read about animal tissues and its type. And in the coming lecture, we'll be talking about morphology and anatomy of cockroach, Periplaneta americana. Cockroach is very commonly found animals. It's an arthropod and it's very successful. I tell you, its construction is such that it can tolerate the atomic explosion as well. Hence, very interesting lecture coming up. This lecture was presented by Mr. Rajiv Ranjan Singh, PGT Biology, Kendra Vidyalaya FS Kumbhigram, Silchar region.